Folks, if you're looking for panic, the earth-shattering, full diaper, useless in an emergency kind of panic, Glenn Beck is your guy. Glenn Beck is an amazing juggler. He can juggle the world's shittiest take, a complete misunderstanding of the circumstances, and a huge ball of it's all going to be over panic in the same. It's amazing. He can keep all three of those balls in the air while having none himself. And in this one, he's still doing day 31 since stranded in Afghanistan. He wasn't stranded in Afghanistan. People are getting out of Afghanistan. The State Department's working with private industry and NGOs and veterans groups and whatever to get people out. They're doing it largely covertly for the safety of the people involved. I know Glenn Beck wants them to announce where the people are, how many people there are, where they live, what road they're taking, what airport they're leaving from, the how many bags they have, what their outfit looks like. He basically wants to give the Taliban and ISIS as much information as you would give to a chauffeur picking someone up at the airport. And this is a federal judge's decision provides terrifying message for us all. It's terrifying. This is terrifying. Guys, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. I'm terrified of that shirt. Again, and I don't know what point we got to, we've gone through, last week it was all Cowboy Glenn. Now it's his Mexicali tourist shirt while he was at the spa in Lake Tahoe or some shit. And then, of course, the only guy with I guess technically, obviously my hair isn't as dark as this, but look, we both have mics that match our hair. It's a brilliant. Okay, sorry, hold on. I got to skip over to this one. Here we go.
Going on in America right now.
There's something going on. Something's going on. Is something going on? Is anything going on right now in America? Are we even in America?
And it is the same kind of revolution that happened in Venezuela.
A Venezuelan revolution is happening on.
And the people like us, we don't believe our lives can change that much because we...
well, not without, taking a serious look at your diet, for one, and your fashion. You keep making the same mistakes, you're going to get the same results. I'm just saying. I wouldn't start heavy. I would, obviously, you're going to want to get your testosterone up. You're going to obviously have to do some heavy lifting, but don't just race right in and try it. You don't want to discourage yourself from further work by overdoing it those first few days. It's not a good idea.
Never witnessed it. We've had tough times, but we've never witnessed any kind of dictatorship.
And you still haven't?
We all go about our day thinking that it's always going to be somewhat like this. We can't truly. The biggest problem with America is...
That's the title of his next book. He dressed as a Nazi on one of his other books. I think he'll have to dress as what you think, Mao, or maybe a Turk with like an Armenian head on a spear, something classy, classic Glenn Beck.
Lack of imagination. We cannot imagine life being much different than it is right now in America.
Well, sure we can. By 2040, we're going to look at like 50% of the cars on the road will be electric. We'll have a base on the moon, hopefully by then, that will begin to be used as a launch point to go to Mars. It'll probably be, in general, hi, my love. let's see, what else can we picture in the future? Commercial space travel available to the average citizen. I mean, obviously it'll be expensive still, but still a chance, you know. Um, we'll have a lot of self-driving cars initially. What else? Let's just think for a moment. We can imagine things quite different from there. Once we cure cancer, and there's a very strong chance that the mRNA vaccines that have been so helpful with COVID may ultimately work to the point where we can have an overall singular coronavirus. Hi, Murph. Hey, buddy. What are you doing? You just coming in to whine a little? Just hi. Come here.
What do you have to say?
Oh no. It sounds terrible. I don't know what's happening. Oh no.
No.
Well, come here.
Come
Yeah. Here. Murphy wants to say hi, everybody. Hi, buddy. Oh, I know. You're such a big boy. I know. You're a grumpy boy, but you're a good boy. You want to say hi to everybody? You have something to say? Huh? You do? Hold on. Just simmer. You gonna be okay?
Oh, Chip has something to say.
Oh,
though.
Chip. Uh-oh. Chip's coming in. Murphy doesn't like Chip right now. You're okay, buddy. I'll hold you up here. What do you think? Do you want to climb around up here? Here, okay. Hop down. Oh, hold on. He's like, that kitten came in here. I don't like him.
You're just
Here.
following him around.
Chip, come here. Everybody wants to see Chip now. We're just going to hand cats in. Hi. Hi, buddy. What are you doing? Yeah.
He's trying to be friends with Murphy.
Besides purring, what are you doing? Oh, he's going to. Hello. Hi, buddy. You doing okay? Yeah. Look at the fan. Look at the stuff. Look at the thing. Where do I want to go? Murphy's going up the steps. He's like, I'm going to go after Murphy. I'm supposed to chase him around. Wait for me.
Sweet.
Hi. There you are. Hi. What's going on, buddy? Here you go.
Good cat.
Oh, there he is. Yep.
See him.
Oh,
He's going to the bathroom. Leave him alone.
yeah. Don't upset him while he's pooping. It's hard enough. You get him all constipated, and then we'll have. I mean, we thought Murphy was upset already. Jeez, imagine him backed up. Ford announced recently the goal is to have their entire fleet electric by 2040. Exactly. I can imagine an extraordinarily different America in the material sense going forward as innovation, creativity, and industry improves people's lives continually. Automation will be a double-edged sword, obviously. Chip's a Foster, Murphy's permanent. Unless he tells us different, by the way. I can imagine non-lithium based battery systems, solar systems, an explosion of geothermal energy, for example, and the ability to live almost entirely off the grid once the reach of broadband. Once we get to what would effectively be 7G, some shit like that, right? Thorium salt reactors, absolutely. Also, obviously, AR and VR are going to have a very big impact. I know, buddy. What happened? Hi, Chip. You just lonely in the middle of the room? What are you doing? Hi. He's just sitting in the floor meowing to no one. He's just like, where am I? What is happening? There he goes. Okay, he's going up the steps. He's fine. QAnon will become Morlocks. Yeah, there's a lot. Transporters? Sure. Am I a gambling man? No. And by the way, you ever hear Rob Reiner when he was making Misery talk about how the movie Psycho ends in the first 10 minutes because Janet Leigh's character rolls up at the Bates Motel and she's on the run. She's got money in the trunk and she's like gonna meet her lover in Victorville or whatever the town is, and then they're gonna go over the border and be safe. And she got $50,000 in the trunk, and she knows the cops are onto her. She knows they're looking for her, and she's tired though, so she pulls over and she asks, "How far is it to this town?" Because that's where she's gonna meet her lover and go across. And they say 25 miles, and she decides to get a room, take a shower, and then she gets murdered, and her car gets thrown in the swamp with the money in the back. Spoiler alert. And Rob Reiner's point was the movie ended right there for me because no one would do that. Everybody in that situation, if you're running from the cops, you got 50 grand in the trunk, you're going to meet your lover, and they go 25 miles. Is 40? Yeah, thank you. You'd go, all right, cool. Can I get a cup of coffee? I'm going to hit the road. And you would drive the other 25 miles and get the fuck out of there, right? All they had to do was say, it's 112 miles. And you'd go, fuck, I'm exhausted. I need to take a nap. And I can't just sit in the car because if they find the car, okay, I'm going to sleep here, blah, blah, blah. Right? And that would have fixed it. They just had to make it further. And so he tried in Misery to not make it so that there were any of those easy outs where the people go, why didn't this? Why? Yeah. Was it 15 miles? Yeah. Something like that. To Fairvale, right. It was a pitifully small number. I lost my train of thought because with the cats and all this stuff. I'll remind me in a second. But there's this point where it just kind of falls apart. The argument, and it's like Mike Lindell's arguments are the opposite. They're so big, you're like, oh, fuck off. It's like you say, like, there's a bunch of bees flying around my car, and I had to run inside or whatever. And you're like, really? Yeah. Can I come inside? There's I'm allergic to bees, and there's like 6 of them flying around my car. And you'd go, oh yeah, sure, come on in. Don't worry about it. Are you is there something we could do? I'll go get a hose or something like that. But if you run up and you go, there are trillions of bees crawling all over my car. I can feel them on my neck. You're like, stay in the fucking yard. I got to call the cops. Like, at a certain point, you got to dial back your bullshit.
But I ask you to imagine a very different existence.
Well, you have to, because that's what you're selling. Glenn Beck sells panic for a living.
Because if you don't start seeing the writing on the wall, and
the shit smeared on the wall,
neighbors don't start seeing it.
Yeah, my fucking neighbors, man. Like, I could scream, zombie apocalypse until I'm undead, but they're never going to spot it.
And we don't start peacefully standing up and saying, no more.
No more. No more what? No more what? Following the law, not storming the Capitol, not beating cops, not building a gallows on the fucking lawn, not dealing with losing an election like everybody else has.
No more. I'm not crossing this.
Yeah, by the way, just for the record, he is not talking about dessert. He's not. Someone is not leaning across the table and offering him Twizzlers or Little Debbie snack cakes.
Fine. I'm waiting for the GOP to give us a contract for America. I'm waiting for them to say,
yeah, that worked out really well last time. How much of that did they come through with? None. They ran on it. It worked though.
Some of us in America still hold these truths to be self-evident.
Which truths would those be? And why are you gesturing like George W. Bush?
And, I can talk to you about all these different policies and the spending packages.
Can you, though? Can you, though, Glenn? Can you talk to me about all these spending packages? Because I'm going to guess you can't. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you can't speak about things like the debt ceiling and what's in the infrastructure bill and where it's getting spent and who it will benefit, or any of the stuff that's in the human infrastructure bill that the Democrats want to pass alongside with it. I'm gonna guess that if you started going down the road of explaining any of the details of any of this shit, one of two things would happen. You would either get a brain cramp and pass out from your own ignorance, or you would say something that ruined your entire argument.
Anything else, But here's what's important.
Yeah, here's what's important. If you're going to if you're going to be in an indoor studio, wearing 2 t-shirts and then a shacket you bought on a road trip to Tucson, you're going to want that air conditioning turned up high.
The rights of the individual citizens.
Mm-hmm.
That is our first charge. That's why governments are instituted among men.
Which rights would those be? Like the rights to like murder people because you don't like the cut of their jib, the right to build a gallows on the the Capitol grounds, the right to bash your way through a window that's shut because you want to go through it, the right to keep a job when your employer says you have to be vaccinated when you have no good reason not to get vaccinated, and yet you're an irreplaceable worker. Apparently not.
Create rights, and certainly not to infringe or take them away.
Well, yeah, but there's obviously no rights are absolute, and there's obviously details in there. That's why, again, we have first, second, third degree murder, manslaughter, depraved indifference, wanton endangerment, shit like that, you know. Why some people lose their license when they get a DUI, others just don't for some reason.
So I know that the most important thing over the economy, over everything else,
is dessert before dinner, because I heard it actually helps your metabolism. Sometimes I find that when I'm choking, more food helps. Jiminy Glick.
is to protect those rights.
Yes, the right to not be killed by the person that you called on 911 who comes to your house that's an anti-vaxxer cop who decides that it's his freedom to enact policies that you pay for in your taxes while at the same time coughing Delta variant all over you.
You want to talk to me about things? You want to talk to me about,
You talking to me about things? You talking about me about things? You must be talking to me about things, because that's all I talk about are things. Because, it's way easier than details.
IRS now having access to every single person's banking account?
No, they don't. They just have the number of the bank accounts that if $600 or more goes through a bank account, no matter whatever its life cycle is, it's just noted that that's how much money went through there. So, not what you spend it on or why. They're bank accounts. Stick your money in your mattress, asshole.
And everything that they do over $600 is reported to the federal government?
No. Not everything they do. Not even close. This is an enormous lie. The fact that $600 or more was in the account during the year, that's what's reported. If there's $2 in it, but there was more than $600 in the account at any given point, it goes like, check on this. Okay. There you go. That's it. That's all. Not what it was spent on, not where it went. Just that the account number has that on. Most of them they'll immediately write off. What anything over $600. Okay, if you have one that you have a bunch of these accounts, we've noticed, and they're like sequential, and they had $600 and $600, and then they come and go. They're like $10,000, and then $600, and then $5,000, and then you just close them, and they're all sequential. Somebody opened a bunch of these in a row. What the fuck's going on? Well, it's under $10,000, so you can't say or whatever. That's what that's about. Yawn.
Federal government can't do that to you. They can do it to
You're right, they can't. And they're not going to.
banks, but they can't do it to you. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment.
Unreasonable search and seizure? How so? They're not searching or seizing anything. It's an unreasonable awareness.
You don't have the right to do that.
You tell them, Glenn. Tell them they can't do something they're not actually doing.
You think I'm doing something wrong. See, this is what they're saying. You know, these people aren't paying their fair share, and so we have to figure out how they're not doing it. Excuse me, I am paying my fair share. I'm paying.
Well, they found that they don't necessarily know that to be true. And maybe here's an example. Maybe people inside the banks or inside the banking industry or like hedge funds and shit like that are doing massive numbers of accounts. What they're doing is they're creating digitally creating these accounts with very little money in them to keep them below this like poverty line level rule that was existing before, which was probably $1,500. They lowered it to $600 to see if they could catch some of these assholes. And then if somebody has $500 in their account because they're a kid, they're not going to do anything about it. Again, it's not what you spend it on; it's the amount that exists in the account. It doesn't mean that they can't arrest you for having more than $600 in your account.
Every dime, every dollar that I am owed or that I owe to the federal government. I have a real problem paying it because of the waste, the gross mismanagement, and
well, enough about the Trump administration.
Things they're spending it on.
Like people, children, veterans, Medicare. Now they want to spend it on roads and bridges. Because to Glenn Beck, America is not a house he has a mortgage on. It's an apartment. And he's just trying to get his security deposit back before he fucks off to the Caymans.
But I am loyal to the social contract. But I'm not paying you a dime more.
No one's expecting you to.
And unless you have reason to believe, hard evidence, and you can bring that to an actual court, not a secret court, an actual court.
Yes, the secret $600 or more court. It's right below it's 5 miles below the Earth's surface under the Dollar General Court.
And get a subpoena. And say, we need to see his banking records. We think, then you can look at my banking records.
Well, that's what they would do.
But you're not looking at my banking records just because.
They're not looking at your banking records at all.
Trying to find something wrong. That's against the Constitution of the United States.
Yes, especially the stuff about Bitcoin in the Constitution is I mean, obviously it's on a Post-it note attached to the side of it, and you can barely read Jefferson's writing.
Period. They are changing things. They can't change them in Congress. They can't change them through the Senate. The Senate and the House are shadows of what they're supposed to be. They're nothing but rubber stamps. The people are voting to please.
Yeah. It's the back and forth, the actual votes, laws being passed legally the way they're supposed to be. Yeah, it's not happening. It's a cabal. Trust me. It's lizard eating. Lizard faced. Lizard eating. They probably do eat lizard. They're lizard cannibals that live under the Pentagon and eat baby milkshakes and their fellow lizards occasionally if they're upset. Mostly it's stress eating.
The leadership of both sides get together and they're setting an agenda and they rubber stamp whatever the Congress is there and the Senate is there to basically rubber stamp whatever the parties say they want.
Yeah, that's totally what's actually happening right now. What? Where are you broadcasting from China? Is this what I'm going to find out? Are you just talking about the CCP? What are you what? Is this because they raised the debt ceiling? Oh my God.
There's no real debate on these things anymore.
Do you ever watch? That's just because you don't watch C-SPAN. Glenn doesn't have time to actually research what he's talking about. You kidding me? He's got cross country sand skiing lessons in New Mexico. What does Glenn Beck do for a living? Obviously, he runs a spaceport on planet Chapo.
Because Congress has given up their power because they didn't want to be held accountable.
No, they don't. No.
And so they gave all of their power to the different agencies.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the people who actually run the shit? So they have the control of the purse of it, whatever, and they allocate the funds, and then they have oversight committees to make sure the money's being spent. But in general, I say, you go. They just give the money. Jesus Christ.
And that's how America is being transformed
Into a country with a functioning democracy?
Through faceless bureaucrats that you didn't elect. You don't even know their name. You can't do anything about it.
Well, sure you can. You elect officials, and they appoint those people. And so elections have consequences, and you need to include in your thoughts about who you're voting for the kind of people that they would actually. Do you smell burnt toast?
They have power.
He wants to be oppressed so bad. That is absolutely Glenn Beck's kink. This is where we find out that Glenn Beck is a closet sub. And this is a cry for help. He's just desperately wanting someone to, tie him up and wrap him in leather and spank his crank. No kink shaming.
How do they have power? Well, it comes from the president. Well, but that's not even constitutional. Doesn't matter. It comes from the president.
Yeah, that's what they say. That conversation happened.
We will not survive. And what?
Well, excuse me. I mean, I get it, Glenn. First, I was afraid. I was petrified. I was thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong. And I learned how to get along. Now you're back from outer space. Just walked in that stupid jacket with a dumb look upon your face. I should have changed that space lock. I should have made you leave me be. I will survive. Hey, hey.
Hey, I want to read some things.
Okay, don't hurt yourself.
From
It doesn't matter. Where's it? Does it really matter where it's from? It's probably, let me guess. It's either a news source that totally and unequivocally supports everything you say in some lunatic way, or, and I think this might be the strong, and this is a guess, so we'll see. We'll roll the dice on this one. Or it's a legit news source, New York Times, Washington Post, AP, Reuters, something like that, CNN, whatever, that supports your argument, but you previously called them fake news. Something like that?
a courtroom.
Oh, a court transcript. Okay.
This is on the January 6th riot.
Okay. Totally related to the $600 IRS rule the Treasury has put forward. Okay. This is from the January 6th thing. It's the court. It's the ultimate court of January 6-iness.
Court sentenced 2 Ohio men to serve 45 days in
Oh,
jail.
no. That's not from a court thing. What the fuck did you just say? I thought you were going to read a transcript from a trial or an indictment.
Some things from a courtroom.
So I'm going to read some things? Shit. I'm going to read some things from a courtroom. Would somebody leave a magazine on this seat? The fuck are you talking about? It's from a newspaper or something, clearly. All right, let's see what it says.
This is on the January 6th riot. Court sentenced 2 Ohio men to serve 45 days in jail after U.S. prosecutors for the first time requested incarceration at sentencing hearings for nonviolent misdemeanor offenders.
Yeah, they didn't actually participate in the violence, but they would have, or they did other shit. They broke things, they stole shit, they got so far inside that they were part of the mob that would have done damage. They got onto the floor of the Congress, shit like that. They only didn't kill Mike Pence because he'd already been removed. So, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Fuck them, I think is the, yeah.
Misdemeanor
is
a small deal.
It's a small deal. Is it? One second. That's why they're getting 45 days, by the way. Let's see. What's a good one? Misdemeanor. Here's a misdemeanor. Let me just show you, if I may. Glenn, it's a small deal, but I'm just going to bring up a misdemeanor. Huh? Something that maybe, as a fan of Donald Trump, you'll remind us is a small deal. Misdemeanor sexual battery is the intentional touching of the breasts or buttocks of the victim by the offender using any instrumentality or any part of the body of the offender, directly or through clothing, or the intentional touching of the breasts or buttocks of the offender by the victim using any instrumentality or any part of the body of the victim, directly or through clothing, when the offender acts without the consent of the victim. Whoever commits the crime of misdemeanor sexual battery shall be fined no more than $1,000 or be imprisoned for not more than 6 months. That's shorter than 45 days. Or, 45 days is shorter than that. It's a little longer, 6 months. There you go. You can get 6 months for that. These guys got 45 days for a misdemeanor. Now, I don't know what the standard is regularly, Glenn, as someone who's not a defender of Donald Trump's. But this particular one comes up quite often when discussing the behavior that Trump has shown towards women in the past, for example. And it's a misdemeanor. It's a little deal. It's a little deal. Come on. It's a little deal. It's little. It's a little deal. So I'm sure that if Trump ever gets sentenced at any point to 3 or 4, pleads down to 2 counts of misdemeanor sexual battery and goes to jail for concurrent max sentences, so he's in jail for a year, you'll be here to remind us in the shirt your mom bought for you that it's just a little deal. It's just a little deal. Just a little deal.
You got a felony? Okay. Misdemeanor?
Yeah, nobody's getting 45 days for a felony, fucko. That's why we have misdemeanors. Misdemeanors come with less than 60 days quite often. You're getting 45 days. Probably, what are we going to guess? Whatever, I don't know what they're big charged with because he's not telling because, I don't know, it came from a courtroom. But what do you think? It's got a 90-day max, so they got half? That's why they got 45 days? What'd they say, Glenn? In the videos used in the trial and that were shown at sentencing that made the difference between them being able to walk or pay a fine, why are they going to jail for 45 fucking days? What did they say? Are we talking in the realm of making terroristic threats, and they pled down to a misdemeanor, and the judge allowed it.
Now they want to send you to jail.
No, they don't. They do not want to send me to jail. Because I didn't build a gallows on the Capitol grounds or try to kill a cop or 2 or 5 or bash in a fucking window and smear shit on the walls of the Congress.
It comes after federal judges for months have questioned whether no prison plea deals offered by the government to low-level January 6 defendants are too lenient.
Right, because a lot of these people have video of them saying, we came here to shoot Nancy Pelosi in her friggin' brain.
To deter future attackers...
The bail for jaywalking is $300,000. It is by no means $300,000. Where? In Dubai?
Terrorizing members of Congress. I want you to know everything this...
I want you to know. Tell us, Glenn. Terrorizing members of Congress is the job of every American citizen.
Government is doing is communication to you, and you...
Is it? So they're making examples of people so that people don't... They're basically saying, hey, don't you guys try to build a gallows and hang the vice president ever again. I mean it.
Communicating back to them through your actions. Right now, they are telling you, don't you dare stand up.
Well, no, they're saying, don't you dare stampede into the Capitol, injuring like a cop's spine while you're helping a crowd do the heave-ho at the front door.
Don't you dare stand up.
What? I know that. I'm waiting just to see what happens. Yeah, still nothing. I don't know what it is. The jaywalking fee was a mistake. Maybe $300. Not. Yeah, I'm going to guess 300. Yeah. Glenn's coming for me. I knew it. It's okay. He won't be able to find me. I'm not dressed like a Lego Aztec playset.
Now, this is January 6th is a different thing. They shouldn't have broken in. They shouldn't have done.
Yeah, but they also shouldn't face any jail time or any fines or actually face any consequence at all. I mean, they're patriots, right, Glenn? I mean, sure, they stomped on a woman's body while she was dying of, I think the final call was an overdose in their own crowd.
That was horrible. It was a stupid move.
Yeah, it was just, guys, it was a stupid move to injure or wound 140 police officers to try and reinstall Donald Trump after an election he lost. It was stupid. I mean, I promise, look, officer, I was in a bit of a hurry. I don't normally check my phone.
Just ethically, and it was a stupid move strategically.
Yeah, strategically. You didn't bring up morally? You're not going to bring that up, Glenn? No?
Just dumb.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you shouldn't have injured that cop's spine. That was strategically and ethically a mistake, and it was just dumb. Yes, because you're going to fucking jail.
But we don't create new punishments.
They didn't create new punishments. The fuck are you talking about?
We want to send a message. That's not what we do.
Hold on one second. Max sentence for trespassing. Let's just see in general. Should we pick up? I think, there you go. It's a misdemeanor. There's a Nevada trespassing laws. Under NRS 207.200, Nevada law defines trespassing as entering someone else's property without permission or remaining on their property after being instructed to leave. We love you. Now go home. Trespassing is a misdemeanor offense. It's a misdemeanor. It's a little thing. It's a misdemeanor offense that, carries a penalty of up to 6 months in jail. Now, clearly, this is trespassing with an intent to commit forcible sodomy with a chainsaw. Obviously, you got to be caught red-handed on video. Defenses. 4 defense strategies to Nevada trespass charges include demonstrating that the defendant had the right to be there. And the defendant had the consent of the landowner to be there. And the landowner did not give sufficient notice via signage and fences to stay off the property. I think a line of cops fucks that defense. The defendant was exercising First Amendment rights. And no. That's the fire in a crowded theater. What would be the, let's see. Freedom of religion, speech, assembly, and petition. Free exercise clause, free speech, press, assembly, and petition. That's where that was probably fall under here. Oh, thanks. Sorry, I made you spit on. Peaceably assemble. That's what they're trying to run. Well, that fucked that whole thing, right? The peaceably assemble part. When you beat the cops to get where you're going, it doesn't quite work. Well, shit. You can get 6 months for trespassing alone, fucko. 6 months. They got 45 days.
That's not justice.
Yes, it is. Well, actually, I take it back. It isn't justice. They should have gotten all fucking 6 months. Because even though they got in there, they may not have been the ones that trampled the cops or beat them or any of that stuff. They benefited from the beating and trampling of cops to get in there. Had the horde in front of them not made it possible for them to get in there, they wouldn't have gotten in. They would have had to participate in the beatings. So they were party to the attacks on police officers that made it possible for them to trespass. So again, fuck you. Nonsense. They should have gotten 6 months. That's not justice. 45 days is not justice. I agree. Let's revisit it. Throw them under the fucking jail.
They're sending you a message wherever you are. And it's
yeah. Don't build a gallows on the Capitol grounds and scream, hang Mike Pence, while you bash in windows and threaten on Instagram to shoot Nancy Pelosi in the friggin' brain. Just in general.
In our communities with the unions, the teachers' unions, and the school boards.
Yes, teach your children well to not storm the Capitol and turn our nation into hell.
Down and shut up, or we will make it miserable. If your kid...
Sit down and shut up. Dude, how is that sit down and shut up? There have been protests and all kinds of shit all over this country. The only people who get arrested are the people who break things or actively choose destruction or are looting, using it as for their own benefit. Vandalism is a 1 to 5 years and you get up to $10,000 fine. Exactly. And these are incorporated. They're trespassing and vandalizing.
Please don't say anything. It's going to make it miserable for me.
How do you get 2 fuckers from January 6th getting 45 days when, hundreds of cases have been summarily dismissed or let go because they weren't involved in this stuff, but they have video evidence of some of these assholes doing this stuff, so they got some days. Or they acted in court like complete psychopaths and got bigger sentences than they would have initially gotten. And if Glenn had an ounce of integrity, which if we know he doesn't because he stood in, presumably there's a mirror in the studio area, you wouldn't wear that shirt and then continue to work. Unless of course you were I caught myself, he is a rodeo clown. That makes sense. I didn't realize it. This is standard uniform.
You must stand up. You must do it.
Do what? Storm the Capitol and kill Mike Pence? What the fuck are you talking about?
Because if they're afraid that they are going to be bullied by teachers or by the school,
what?
Because you say something now, what do you think it's going to be like if you let it ride?
Okay, I don't even know what those sentences meant. And honest to God, I don't think he knows either. I think we're in a moment where Glenn is going, think anybody noticed I just said nothing?
They are sending you a message. You are powerless.
No, they're not. They're sending you a message. Don't commit active crimes against your fellow citizens or the government. Don't beat cops. Don't shit and smear it on the walls of the Capitol. Don't threaten police officers, members of Congress. Don't interrupt the counting of the electoral votes. That's the message.
Sending you a message. Sit down.
They're sending you a message. Obey the law that you want so that you can have a functioning society.
How many of us are willing to go like we did in Washington, D.C. on August 28th, 2010?
Yeah, nobody remembers.
How many of us are willing to go do that? How many of us would be willing to go and march on 9/11 or what was it, 9/12?
Yeah, it. Never forget, except the date.
The tax tea party. How many of us would do it?
Lots of people do that shit. Hundreds. Who cares? Are you saying that January 6th is the second time people stormed the fucking Capitol and threatened to murder the vice president and had the means to do it?
A lot would not, because they would be afraid it would be infiltrated, or they would be...
Yeah, that's the other thing. The FBI is going to infiltrate our movement, and they're going to tell me, come on, guys, it's okay. Let's go bludgeon a couple of cops, to let them know we mean business. I don't think that's ethical or moral. I'm here to talk about taxation. I'm not going to beat up a cop. Come on. I mean, you really mean it? How much do you care about the marginal tax rate? If it goes from 32.7 to 36.7, that's a 4% difference. You're not willing. You've got a thin blue line flag. Just hit him with it. Go ahead. All right. This is the other this ranks up there with Bongino's idea that there's a secret plot to make sure Republicans don't take the vaccine by insisting they take the vaccine, and then they'll stomp their feet and go, "No, I'm not doing it. You're not my real dad." This is the same argument that they wouldn't have stormed the Capitol, but they were infiltrated. The FBI made them do it.
That they're going to get stomped. They're going to be put on a list.
Stomped, put on a list. I mean, I've seen them. Are we talking like grocery or Schindler's? It's kind of important. Inquiring minds want to know. Glenn, I'm regretting giving Dan Bongino the 5 eggs to some degree, because this has been a day of stupidity on the right like we have not seen in months. And I'm about to tell you why that's good news. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to end our show tonight with a happy thought. A reminder that all of the clips that you've seen tonight, and many of the ones that I didn't even have time to show, all have one thing in common. And that is, tonight, have you watched Dan Bongino be more confused than any human being in history by numbers he himself thought made his argument for him? Sure. Have you seen Don Jr. try to win the air quote Olympics while reading notes given to him by the Heritage Foundation and the Koch brothers, poorly, I might add? Yes, you have. Have you seen Glenn Beck jibber jabber nonsensically about something Constitution, laws, and sit down and their obedience and China and something? Yes, you have. But what have you really seen overall? What you've seen overall over the course of this show is the death of right-wing talking points. You are literally watching them die because they can't argue about the debt ceiling when they know the Republicans just signed off on it. They can't fight back against the infrastructure bill when they know it's 68% popular even amongst Republicans. They can't complain about Afghanistan in any meaningful way. That's starting to fall apart because we're out. We're gone. I mean, even Don Jr. called it a forever war when it's over. And so feel a little bit of joy tonight, knowing that you just saw three people desperately scrambling for something to complain about and failing miserably.